There are some lectures that are near and dear to my heart, and this is one of them. Just because I've spent so much of my career in intellectual property, it's kind of fun to talk about it, for me at least. Anyway, when we talked about the process of how we research things, at first we establish our market, figure out where our competition is and what the value of my product is. Now it's about how do I go about and protect it from the rest of the world. Property is anything that's owned by a person or entity. It could be real property, such as land, an estate, or personal property is considered to be everything else. Once Dr. Cho was part of a startup, and what happened is he had filed with the lawyers about 12 patents. And what ended up happening is that the company went belly up. And so I just inquired, are you ever going to do anything with those patents? Because I want to get the rights back to them. And as it turns out, they had sold it. They had sold it to the competition so they could write their own patents about it, and they own the intellectual property. And that kind of upset me because, hey, those were my ideas. But it's property. And this is why in a company, for those of you who have filed patents, technically it's your property and you're required to sell it to the company. So they give you a whole dollar. That's the thing. In the old days, companies used to be more generous. Like you get $500 or some stock or something. Instead, they give you a whopping dollar. Anyway, what is intellectual property? Well, basically, intellectual property are creations of the mind. And what it comes down to is that if it can be recreated or manufactured or emulated in some way, that means it's reproducible. Once it's reproducible, that means it's property. It's not something that happens once every 80 years or something like that. And the USPTO, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, defines intellectual property as one of four things: patents, trademarks, copyrights, or trade secrets. An example are patents are your inventions, trademarks are brand or product expressions, things that you identify with the product through your senses, whether it's sight or hearing, that's distinct. A copyright is your creative works, that you own the right to what you create. And finally, trade secrets are the things that nobody knows about. Like the Coke formula is probably the most famous. A lot of fighting right now in the orange juice industry about what can be considered to be a trade secret and what can't. But the legal documents that go in line with that is you get granted a patent or a registered trademark or a registered copyright. And the reason why they created these works is they want to create individuals to create things. And so that way you can protect it. However, the other reason why you want to do this kind of thing is because it sets benchmarks. So you tell people you have to go out and pass this. And so by passing that, we create innovation. Now, in terms of you as a company, why do you want to file for IP? Why don't you just keep everything secret? Well, first of all, it gives your company tangible assets. All of a sudden, now you're worth something because you actually own something other than just an idea. And you can now license this idea to other people. A lot of companies do that. It helps you with defense. It scares people away because you own the patents in an area. And it prevents copying. And furthermore, if you want to go out and negotiate, all of a sudden you become a lot more attractive for investment. We're making deals because you own something. You have to prove that you uniquely created this, so you own the rights to it. For example, you own the rights to your image. People can't use your image to make money unless they get your permission first. A lot of people say, oh, but if they take my picture in public, it means that they don't have to pay for it. Well, unless it's an element related to news or something like that, if they're using your image to specifically make commercial profit from it, you own the rights to it and you can sue. A patent is another example you own the rights to. For that matter, your written works, publications, is something you own the rights to. In terms of trademarks, what a trademark is defined as is a mark that's coupled with a product and service. And that mark can be anything such as a word, a color scheme, a sound, or any combination of the above. Essentially, how do you engage the product through your senses? A lot of you have probably seen the symbol TM. What that means is that you're asserting your rights, but you actually haven't filed a trademark. And so you're just trying to scare people off. And then an R means that it's federally registered, you've actually paid the money, so you can sue people on infringement. Now, in terms of trademarks, it's a way to differentiate you from everyone else because it's a mark that symbolizes you as an enterprise. The big things about instituting a mark is you have to use it. You just can't file it and never use it and think you're going to own the rights to it. You have to show that you used it. Not only that, it's something called a goodwill marketing asset. Essentially, it has value. And when people see it, it identifies with your product or good. The thing about trademarks is they can't be functional. Functions are protected by patents. So making a car is not a trademark. The thing is, there are a lot of things that are not protected by trademark, and one is you can't do knockoffs. You can look at the USPTO database to find them. So if you make something very similar that clearly you're trying to infringe on somebody else's trademark, like hot fried chicken, prepare to be sued. The thing is, if you want to protect it, you can. However, if you do, you have to tell the USPTO about how you use it. Because if it's not being used, then what happens is within 3 years, they can go out and cancel it. If it is actually a trademark that you are using, then you've got 10 good years with it. In terms of creating a trademark, it's got to be distinct, it's got to be relevant. It can't be too generic. And then the thing that you have to be careful about is your trademark can get genericized. And that's that people start using your word all the time. Xerox used to be the big one. Instead of I'll make a copy, you told people I Xerox something. Instead of doing a search, you tell people I'll Google it. And so that's not necessarily a bad thing because everybody's talking about you. But on the other hand, you lose protections because it just becomes part of it's regarded as being part of the public domain. Now, in terms of copyrights, this is creative material that you make, and you own the rights and how to control it. The requirements for a copyright is that it has to be fixed in a tangible medium. It can't just be up in somebody's head. It's got to be original, and the thing is, you can't copyright a fact. That's separable from action. Now, let's look at this brilliant piece of artwork here. It was drawn by Dr. Cho, and the question is this copyrightable? Well, yes it is, and the reason why it is because it's unique, it's in a fixed medium, and clearly I draw it. And what I call this magnificent piece of art is a rock group getting stoned. Yes, I always promised you a superior sense of humor. The thing is, if you don't want to pay the money, you don't have to register your copyright rights. The thing is, notating a C on it establishes notice, but not necessarily that it's legally copyrighted. And you're just trying to scare people off because it costs you money. Essentially, for an individual, it's the life of the artist plus 70 years for such a work, and it's 120 years from date of creation if you're a company. These are the types of things that a copyright can copy, whether it's derivative works. These are the actions. The thing is, why register? Well, registering establishes that you actually own it. You can't start a legal action until you can establish that. That's why a lot of people, when they decide to sue, suddenly have to run to the patent office and file. So they do have legal status. But anyway, you can look at copyright.gov for the details. In terms of suing, what can I get? Well, you can get your actual damage. That's how much you lost, plus what the other guy earned off of you, statutory damages, which is you punish the infringer for stealing. And finally, copyright registration, and that's something you can file right away. The thing is, publishing under the law is different than reality, and this is where a expert lawyer comes in handy for you. Other legal actions you can take is you can file a cease and desist letter if they're copying you, send the infringer the bill for it of what it's costing you, or you could file a DMCA, which is a Digital Millennium Copyright Act. And in the digital space, what that statute means is that you own the rights to things, or you're not responsible if you're just loaning people things. And so I think this is a good place to break. I'll see you in the next video.